Our most recent shared excursion together centered around the dark side of the moon took us down the path of first light, and upon its conclusion, we have wrapped up the current lineup of fresh pieces on part of the band's individual vision. So we return, as of the last 3 pieces, all in separate videos, of course, to differentiate the tracks individually, we return to where we started with the band on part of the cover model, which has been fun to entertain, though I will say in respect to those original pieces, the 3 on this album, I truly desire for there to be a future for this supergroup. I've fallen madly in love with this project. I'm part of Metamorphosis, and I know, of course, good art takes time to create, so it's understandable we might have a gap in space and time, and all the group members, of course, are, I'm sure, very busy with other projects that they're connected to, and part of setting a baseline for anybody that's approaching the name Dark Side of the Moon is a first-name basis. Think a exemplary supergroup on part of a European rock and metal sphere, which, of course, is advantageous if you've never gone down the pipeline before. Maybe this will be your first opportunity to enjoy such craft, but think of it as, again, a collaborative work on part of the talents of groups from, of course, different counts for everybody, from Ad Infinitum, Feuerschwangs, and Amaranth, all favorites of mine. And I think you're going to be in for quite a delight. Maybe you haven't humored those groups either. There's some recommendations for you to go down their library as well, and you'll enjoy it, believe me. But we've entertained 8 works thus far on the channel together, and those original pieces have just been so bedazzling, but it was the covers that set the baseline for me. And I've really enjoyed what the Dark Side of the Moon has done. Again, with a metal basis, reframing works in a way that is, I think, in great homage and spirit to the original works. In fact, I've consulted, I believe, each piece going in. Either I've heard it before or I've taken a review, as I did with this one. But they're wonderful reimaginings. Again, with such an intense... Well, I mean, it might differentiate in part of tone from track to, from one track to another. But I find all of them to be highly competent. I'm excited to hear more, though, and to finish it out with you, the entire project of Metamorphosis, as I promised you I would, though I didn't let on that I was going to do that originally, but I'm sure many of you guessed. Because how could I not? And I do hope that some of you are approaching again on a first-name basis. I know many of you are not, right? And that there are plenty of you Dark Side of the Moon fans who have been a fan of them, in fact, for longer than I have. I just recently came in and caught up with some of their works, but I've just, again, like I said, become a mad, raving fan of them, and I hope you will too if this is a first introduction. I do, aspire for these videos to be, in part, if it can be permitted, shared experiences where we enjoy good work together, especially in the music sphere, which has been a long-time love of mine. And I hope you have the same thrill ride. I think you will with the Metamorphosis. Again, though, I mean, I would tempt it, though we're going in fresh, right, with each piece we consult together. But fresh no longer after at least one replay, and probably many more soon after. I would imagine you're going to have the same story in witnessing what I'm going to presume is going to be the same efficacy related to the other covers on part of the WOLVEN Storm, PRISCILLA'S song, which might be an attractive piece for a number of you, given that, though I've not personally engaged as much, I know The Witcher has a high potency of brand, not just, I think it's more so in the gaming sphere, and probably, I think it's based on a book series, right? I think I'm right on that. Again, I'm barely ever engaged. I know the TV show on Netflix has hit some dire straits. I mean, well, Henry Cavill parts ways, and it's like, why are we still living on? I mean, no disrespect to Luke Hemsworth, but he's not Henry Cavill. Anywho, well, we'll see what the future is of that show, or maybe lack thereof. But The Witcher as an IP is of high potency, and I'm sure the musical scores are of equal reverence. I would say they're deserving, at least on a first temptation, because I have, as I've done for all the other covers, consulted the WOLVEN Storms / PRISCILLA'S song, the original form, to understand it, and to see the adaptive spirit of the Dark Side of the Moon. I'm really curious to hear it. And that original piece, quite beautiful, an opener, really luminescent work, very soft. I love the lute sounds, and that was on part of, let me get the band's name right here, because I had it pulled up in reference. Where did it go? In fact, it's a first for this channel in some regard. Percival, a Polish folk metal band. I've not spotlighted many Polish bands yet, though again, I try to make my way around intentionally within the European scene generally. So it's always wonderful to add on new features, and I thought that Percival's work was quite beautiful, very sentimental ballad. So where is the Dark Side of the Moon going to take this? I'm genuinely curious. I'm sure a number of you are too, especially for those of you who that might have brought you in with the Witcher caveat. Be like, oh, I'm a Witcher fan, I gotta hear this. Maybe you haven't heard the Dark Side of the Moon yet, and this will be Well, I mean, we'll have to see. I'll reserve judgment for the comments section when that happens, in regards to what you Witcher fans think in terms of comparing the two. Though I don't personally like to rank things, I think both pieces are going to be of equal reverence, I would imagine, on craft and ability. Because that's just been the story I've had thus far with the Dark Side of the Moon. I have been so impressed with their transformations, and I'm sure the Wolven Storm will be no different. I'm going to go ahead and cue up the piece, and we can listen to it for ourselves together for the first time, as well as in all my coverage. Many of you might be approaching this on a first-name basis. Lyrics are provided for the first time. We get to enjoy this piece together, and for you Dark Side of the Moon fans, as said, I keep my promise, and we're going to finish this out. I don't know what, I'm hoping to get these recordings out soon, but at least I'm finishing the album out today, and it's been a wonderful ride. I've been waiting to cover it, though, for a little while to resume our path together, and I'm sure this piece is just going to be so much fun. Let's return, though, to the covers and see how exemplary this work is. You know, there's, as I said many times, variety in the cover scene. This is a change. Oh, that frenetic riff next to the percussion, though. It's so charming, but it's a deviation for sure. Melissa's voice here is of equal delivery. It's its own thing, though. Married best to the tone of the piece. And the key choice of the song was a great choice. I mean, I know this refers to the origin, but... oh, it's beautiful. That chorus adaptation is just so much fun to listen to. You know, I like how the verses maintain that softer presence. Again, it's a nice echo of its own uniqueness. And it's such exquisite fantasy lyric writing, too. And I know that's a credit originally for The Witcher, but... oh man, it's beautiful. That high inflection on the eyes, I love that. Well, it's not really high, but it's a step up. Fitting place for a shred. I'm still earlier in my days consulting Feuerschwanz, getting a taste for Hans Plantz, but I've really liked his riff work here. Wonderful. Great key choice change, and I love the expansion on what this is bringing in on part of the artist's abilities. Which, so far, it's been a great package of all the other pieces. What a great actor with the harp. It's a good lute simulator. And it's different, right? But it's a compliment. It's very unique. Certainly on genre. That definitely changes the original work. Though again, I feel that tonally, it does reflect a general homage. Especially on those verse passages where you have that softer presence come on. And then the chorus, it draws of a more frenetic pacing, higher energy. It's a great transformation. It's just funny, especially on the initial, you're like, where these faster paced riffs come from? Like, this wasn't a part of the original number. But it fits. I mean, I really like the reimagined idea here. It certainly fits in the genre focus of The Dark Side of the Moon thus far, though if you haven't heard them before, again, it's been a general mix on tone from piece to piece, though it does have that harder basis for, I think, all of the works. This piece, though, it didn't occur to me about this until I was on a walk the other day, and I decided to re-listen thus far to what I'd heard, including up to First Light and all the previous songs, other than the 3 I'm looking at today. I just re-listened to it on my walk, as I was going home, and it didn't occur to me until probably midway through that, as I've said in the past, considering Amaranth, Feuerschwang's, and Ad Infinitum, and the different capabilities that each artist brings in to the collection, what you hope for of a collaborative work. And you're getting a great taste for it here, although, again, they're with a very specified, exclusive vision to the Dark Side of the Moon's work that does separate. Well, maybe there is some overlap, at least in certain features, but it generally, this work is very distinct on vision, for me, at least in opinion, in regard of it. One thing that I consider with some of the pieces in mix, and there's been a few that have played to this, if you look at Melissa Bonney, who I'm a big fan of course, from Ad Infinitum, and you consider her vocal talents, right, with the scream, split with, considering the works we've heard thus far, it's been more so played as an echo element or in subordination to the melodic side, for the most part, other than like Jenny of Holstones. That one, of course, is a much more dramatic presence with the scream. There's a distinctive area for it. I love the emphasis here. Again, stretch the understanding for newer listeners, right, who might not have entertained Ad Infinitum yet. And this is your first introduction to Melissa Bonney, right? Get a taste for every feature in prominent focus. I love the segue midway through the bridge. I know it's small, but I love that. I've said many times, I love in the metal scene when you come across lead female singers with such a high vocal talent. And there's different extents in the European scene. I mean, some might go down to the lower guttural growl scream range. Others might have an operatic tone. That also is so charming for me. But I love when I hear Melissa just go in on her vocals. It's just so impassioned. I love hearing it, though. I know it's small. Like I said, it's just 2 lines of this piece with the bridge. But it was so nice to see that emphasized. Along with beautiful guitar, a guitar breakdown on part of Hans, a wonderful outro effect that I think is a good match. Well, I think it would have been cool to incorporate a lute in this. I mean, I don't know. Again, that's from the original piece, but it would have been really interesting to see if that had been brought in, but I will forgive it on part of the harp it's a good parallel. It's very satisfactory, at least it mimics the closure. More so the outro effect, and I think the general structure to the original piece. Because again, that one is very different. It's much softer. This is a higher elevation of energy for sure. But I think it is of equal competence. And it is a good association. But again, with a transformative vision that is more unique, right? It keeps it original. But it reflects the honor of the original Witcher number very well, in my opinion. As all the covers have at this point. They're I don't think any of the pieces in any way have disregarded that reverence factor. It's all been stressed through. Even just on the passion of the group, you sense that love for each project and that devotion. That comes through. And with this piece, it's no different. I think the Wolven Storm is a great model as well for, as I've said with covers, there is a variety of, and the Dark Side of the Moon, of course, has demonstrated this. There are different places artists go. Some might, mimic many of the elements of the original piece, keep most of it in line, where it comes across more so as, we're just trying our independent, adaptation of it, on our own. Or they might make some, changes. They might change around with the key, the tone, the genre application, the pacing. There's many different tools an artist's disposal on how they revise a work to fit, well, revise, but again, honor, to make it their own. And I feel that how the Dark Side of the Moon has retrofitted the Wolven Storm to fit their style keeps it in a place of honor, but transforms it in such a unique way that in some parts mimics the original work, certainly in tone, though. Like, there's no fantasy. Let me reword this. that's not lost in the song. When you think of, even for somebody like me who's very much an initiate, just on some brief information and just how potent the fan base seems to be in connection to the Witcher brand, this keeps that fantasy atmosphere intertwined very well. Though again, it is so fresh to its own vision. It does depart severely from the original work in many respects, and yet it does feel so closely united. It's really interesting, the effect here, at least in my opinion. And maybe you agree, or maybe you don't. You know, I'd love to hear the mixture of opinion down below, because as I've said before, music can be a very subjective experience. And, you know, every person approaches music differently, especially on consideration how it best meshes with you on taste. And as I said with you Witcher fans, right? I don't necessarily like to compare works. I think in this case, you know, at least in my opinion, I mean, I don't like to rank things, because especially when it comes to music, because there's not been a piece on this channel that I've not loved, or in connection to witnessing certain works, again, accustomed to like I did the Witcher number, the original piece. I like that one as equally as the Wolven Storm's, the Dark Side of the Moon's take on it. They sit in different places for me, again, based on their individual presences, but I find them to be equally, you know, atmospheric. I'd love to hear your opinion down below, as well as your point of angle, you know, and approach. Are you a long time, I'm sure, again, there will be a number of you on this, Dark Side of the Moon fan, or a fresh introduction? Love to hear about it down below. I'd love to hear, you know, in some part that there's a satisfaction that I am, in some way, again, if I can manage this, not to be, you know, all boastful here, but I really do hope that there are some of you who are approaching from the dynamic of, I want to entertain good music, but I've not heard some of these bands yet. Again, I cover a good range on this channel intentionally to set that introductory path for you, right? Maybe you come in through one group and you find another. I don't think I've made it that hard, given, again, how regular of a presence is coming on the channel alongside other work that I've made more mainstay presences over the years. But I'm trying to build music into an equal potency. Sometimes it's taking on a bit more, admittedly. But again, I revere it as an art form deeply. And I hope that we can share in that passion together as we witness good works, perhaps for the first time. And that maybe this is going to be your first introduction to the Dark Side of the Moon. I hope that the Wolven Storm was to your liking. And I hope for you Witcher fans, right, that this was satisfactory as well. I've been very impressed with the hand that the Dark Side of the Moon has employed to the cover territory. It's been an honor to feature them, especially on the qualification of good music and great covers. The Wolven Storm is no different. Sets right in line with their other pieces. Wonderfully reimagined work that, again, does not forget in any way the reverence of the original piece and its own individual dream. That's very well featured here. Even if, again, there's a severe deviation, the Wolven Storm in inspiration still lingers on. It's still there. I love that when it happens with a cover. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.